Understandably, that's a story that's generated quite a bit of interest across the country today, and I dare say even further abroad. It's been trending on social media, and to take us through their thoughts, we have now Tandy Smith from Media Monitoring Africa. Tandy, thanks for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So what is Media Monitoring's view on this very significant transaction in the media space? And we don't have them often. So it's quite significant.
It is significant, and I think that it's more of a deal that comes out of, you could say, necessity rather than simple opportunity. But you know, from Media Monitoring Africa's perspective, it's not necessarily about who owns what media. You know, if anything, this could be a positive outlook on issues of media transformation. But it's about knowing who owns it and knowing and having as much transparency and credibility around the ownership of the media. And having said that, it's also about the transparency around the actual deals. You know, this term vendor funding has been thrown around, and yes, we understand that that now means it's been the money's been lent by the Guptas, but you know, what does it actually mean? What does it entail? We need a little bit more information around the actual deal.
And I would imagine it would be very difficult to generate any negative press to somebody who's just lent you 450 million rand.
Of course, I mean it would be difficult, but you know, like I said, there needs to be a lot more transparency. It's a very big number for a deal. It's a lot of money, and you know, there've been a lot of questions asked about, you know, the company having just a few months ago been a shelf company, and now it's, you know, making these sorts of business deals. So the more transparency, the better.
Well, let's take a look at the industry. Print first, the New Age newspaper, because I'm thinking 450 million rand, I'm going to have to find ways to sell this paper and get it out there. And yet around the world, we're seeing this space shrinking. Is there a business case for buying a newspaper in 2017?
It is an interesting point. I mean, there are trends across the globe showing the decline of print media. So that's a very valid argument, you know. But having said that, I still think that there is a market for newspapers, for print. I think you see a very different sort of audience wanting to be online and wanting to be to still have print media, especially in a country like ours, where the divide between who has access to new media and new media platforms and who still relies on print media is still there.
24-hour news channel is also a difficult beast to feed and make money from. And I know that the digitalization process is something that you've been watching quite a lot. The space is going to change significantly once that digital platform is full on board. It's going to be even harder for a channel like ANN7 to make money.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up the issue of migrating to digital, because we're in a really interesting space as a country when it comes to the deadlines and where we're at. And you know, the more we go into the digital, the more we adopt these new media platforms, the more difficult it is. It gets to be running your traditional media. But I think that we are, from a infrastructural perspective, ready for digital media. It's more of a policy and regulation issue that we grappling with at the moment.
All right. So Jimmy Manyi says that we're going to start presenting the kind of news that people want. What do you think he means by that? What can we expect, in your opinion, to be coming out of the ANN7 and the New Age newspaper going forward?
You know, I think that what is clear is that there has been a lot of controversy around the kind of content that we get from ANN7 and the New Age. I think that when he speaks about the kind of content that people want, you know, I think that there is a push for more balanced, more objective content coming from the media entity. But, you know, even though we might not like the content, at least we know where the content is coming from. For us, as long as you are signing on to your regulatory mechanisms and you're adhering to your licensing and regulations conditions, that's the best, that's first prize. And, you know, having said that, we really hope that he's going to take on some editorial changes and subscribe to the Press Council and go back into to joining the self-regulatory mechanisms that we do have, because they're such good bodies that we need to strengthen.
At the beginning of our conversation, you kind of started and mentioned it, but he's suggesting also that this is a transformation move, and that you know, government is bound to support black business because this is the first properly black-owned business. And I just wonder, transforming the owners, does that mean transforming the media output?
I don't think that there's a direct correlation. I think that yes, it's important to have media transformation at an ownership level, but that has to filter down to within the institution itself. It's one thing having a transformed ownership structure, but you need to have transformation within content. You need to have transformation within your editors, within your senior management, and ultimately, you know, your journalists and your content producers. And not only from a race perspective, but also gender. So it's one thing to have, you know, your race transformation, but we need to be focusing on transformation across the board.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. Tandy Smith from Media Monitoring Africa, thank you very much indeed for your time and your insights. No doubt this will be a conversation that people will be having and watching for some time. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, Francis, that's where I'm going to leave it for the time being. What's happening on the markets, my friend?